Florida Senator Marco Rubio. Senator, good to see you now. And so already some of your critics are saying, well, that's hypocritical of you to enroll and take the federal subsidy since you've been critical of this law. To them, you say what?
Well, first of all, we're supposed to live under the same laws everybody else is. So if everyone else is being forced to go on Obamacare, why shouldn't members of Congress be forced to be on it as well? I didn't vote for the law. I wasn't here when it passed. But I don't think I should go back to Florida and tell people that I got an insurance plan that they don't have. As far as the subsidy, it's not the federal subsidy, it's the subsidy, it's the employer contribution made by the Senate. Senator Vitter has proposed eliminating that. I would support that. But in the interim, I'm going to follow whatever law applies to everybody else. I don't think members of Congress should be able to have laws separate from the laws that everybody else has to live under.
Now, in the meantime, you and your Senate colleagues got some emergency letter today from the disbursing office, sending an urgent mass email to everyone saying, you think you may be in Obamacare, but don't trust any confirmation you've received from the D.C. Health Exchange. Don't rely on your My Account page. If you don't have a confirmation letter, you are not enrolled, and so on. The American people, unfortunately, are not going to get any correspondence from the Senate disbursing office. Your thoughts on how this is now working? I mean, you think you're enrolled, you may not be enrolled. Check with the Senate. What?
It's extremely disruptive. Now, look, for members of Senate, like you said, there's a disbursing office that's out there alerting people that they may have a problem. And it's not just members, by the way, it's staffers and people like that. But what about the American public? I had someone approach me at a wedding who said that her deductible is now close to $6,000. So she's basically, in her mind, uninsured because she doesn't have $6,000, and she's going to have to come up with $6,000 just to begin to access the health insurance that she now has. So all of these changes, not just what you've outlined, but all the others that we're seeing, are going to prove to be extraordinarily disruptive to millions and millions of people across the country.
On the subject of the 300,000 enrolled so far, it's too little. They don't have enough people. They wanted 7 million by March. They're not getting them at this pace. I mean, anything could happen, I suppose, by March. But right now, they're nowhere near on track. And the problem for them is even the numbers they have, we're told, include a disproportionately small number of the healthy young people they need for this law to work. Right. That means the insurance companies have a different risk pool than the ones they bargained for. But HHS and the Obama administration foresaw this possibility to some extent and guaranteed the insurance companies a form of bailout, or however you want to call it, if the risk pool wound up being bad for them. The insurance companies are getting ready to ask for that bill to be paid, and we, the American people, are the ones paying it. You're trying to stop this. I mean, this is one of the things, if you got to see what's in the bill so we can find out if you like it. You're trying to stop this now, but do you have any hope of actually doing so?
Well, I hope people will be outraged by it. Look, this thing called risk corridors, and the concept is most companies are going to make money. A handful may miscalculate. You don't want them not to be able to pay benefits, and so you have this risk pool that comes in and primarily helps them out or bails them out. But in this instance, because of the problems you've described, the exchanges have actually become the equivalent of what's a high-risk pool. Very sick people, older people, people that cost a lot more money to insure, meaning that's not what these companies bid on. So two things are going to happen. One, they're going to come to the federal government for money to help them out with their losses. And two, next year, they're either not going to try to be part of the exchange, or they're dramatically raise premiums and deductibles, and that means even less people are going to sign up, which means even more companies are going to be bailed out. So this needs to be addressed. Again, it's just one more of a series of rolling disasters that this law is producing.
Before I let you go, there's a budget deal in Washington, but already folks are coming out for and against it. And you're one of the senators who has come out against this deal that's been struck on a bipartisan basis. John Boehner, Speaker of the House, which is, of course, not the chamber you're in, but he came out and said those who are opposing this deal are, quote, using the American people for their own purposes. This is ridiculous, he said. Your thoughts?
Well, look, unfortunately, the budget, what it does is it increases spending by about $60 billion over the next 2 years, going above this cap that, by the way, Congress imposed on itself, meaning these caps now that they pass in Washington are meaningless because they come back a year later and go over them. But here's the problem. It raises it by $60 billion, the spending, but it pays it over 10 years. Well, you know how that works. I mean, over the next couple of years, they'll forget it, and they'll keep borrowing more. The fundamental problem that we have here is we have a government that continues to spend more money than it takes in. It's doing so at an alarming pace. And our children are going to have to pay for this. Not just our children. Many of the people that are around today are going to have to pay. We are going to have a debt crisis in this country. It is going to continue to destroy jobs. It's going to disrupt the functions of our government. It's going to threaten our national security. When are we going to get serious about dealing with this once and for all?
Good question, Senator Rubio.
Yeah.
We'll save that one for another time. Thank you, sir.
Thank you.